What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship. It is presently 5:30 p.m. Saturday, December the 16th, and like I said on Monday, we've cut our pathfinding time in half so we can make sure here at the channel that all of these videos can come out to you despite holiday schedules moving everything around and getting everything all super crazy without any interruptions. There have been several requests for this series, some of them coming from patrons, some of them coming from longtime supporters of the channel, but recently, Mr. Samuel Thurman commented on one of my videos asking me to please cover Asmodeus and specifically how to defeat him. So yeah, sure, Sam Thurman, this one's for you. Today we're going to step away from the less forgotten stuff and we're going to talk about one of Pathfinder's core deities, Asmodeus. As always, patronage is still the #1 way to support YouTube channels all across the various genres of entertainment. If you'd like to see this channel do a bunch of crazy cool stuff and get sweet new recording gear so we look better doing it, as always, our Patreon information is down in the description. Today, however, this episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship was brought to you in part by the Inn of Planar Crossroads. So, as we all probably know, on planet Earth, Asmodeus is a Judeo-Christian demon from the Book of Tobit and also a fallen angel who appears in John Milton's Paradise Lost. His physical appearance is based on the popular conception of Satan, that being a man with a handsome visage, good manners, and engaging nature, however, sometimes walking with a limp, sometimes walking on clawed feet, or, little devil horns. Asmodeus, or as we pronounce it in Pathfinder, sometimes to my chagrin, Asmodeus, has been appearing in the Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game since Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1st Edition's Monster Manual in 1977. In Dragon Magazine number 76, The Nine Hells Part 2, his place in the Nine Hells was further detailed, and this is where that big controversy that you've heard about, how Dungeons & Dragons is a bunch of devil worshipping and the devil has brought it to us and all that kind of stuff comes from. Owing to that moral panic regarding the game that we all love, Asmodeus did not initially appear in D&D 2nd Ed, but in the Planescape line of game products, the Lord of the Lowest Circle of Hell, though initially unnamed, was revealed to be Asmodeus. He has since appeared in 3rd Edition, 4th Edition, 5th Edition, and as well as we know him in Pathfinder. Asmodeus in Pathfinder is the most powerful of the 9 archdevils that inhabit Hell, and the only one of Hell's rulers to claim full divinity. It was he who is credited with the penning of the contract of creation within which his followers believe is hidden the means for their patron's eventual rise to supremacy. Asmodeus believes that the strong should rightly govern the weak, who in turn owe their masters unwavering obedience. He loves negotiations and contracts, especially those that give one of the parties a distinct yet hidden advantage over the other. He expects and appreciates flattery, but he's never fooled by it, seeing it as a negotiation tactic as well as the duty of those who serve him, as they are in fact in inferior positions. Asmodeus' story goes back a very, very long time, back to the very creation of existence as we know it. According to the Book of the Damned, Asmodeus and his brother Ys are 2 primeval entities born spontaneously from the mysterious source of life known as the Seal. These 2, known together as the First, began as formless motes of energy, and when the Seal birthed other lesser motes, the First became self-aware. Eons passed, and slowly the First and these lesser motes began exploring creation. As these motes developed further and further, they became the multiverse's first gods. One of the First came upon a sigil upon the Seal, and with its discovery, symbols and meanings came into existence. His brother uttered the first sound and discovered speech, naming himself Ys. His brother, the creator of meaning, he named Asmodeus. Ys and Asmodeus, together with these lesser gods, began to sculpt creation to their liking and slowly introduced the concept of order into reality, creating the stars, planets, and the fundamental laws that bind them. Then Ys forever changed the world they had created by creating the first mortals, discovering the concepts of souls and worship, and the other gods followed his example. Ys bestowed upon mortals free will, causing the first schism of the gods between those such as Asmodeus, who viewed mortals as mere tools, and those like Ys, who desired freedom for their creations. Asmodeus was devastated by his brother's actions, and he showed Ys the chaos and destruction that he had sowed, but Ys, believing good came from mortals' free will, opposed Asmodeus. The first conflict between order and chaos, or lawful and chaotic on that alignment chart, tore the gods apart. Ys defended the right of mortals to choose their own destiny, along with the imperial lord at the time, Sarenrae, at his right hand. None can say how long the war between the gods raged, but on an insignificant world far from the seal between the flickering and dying of godly motes, Asmodeus and Ys met. Both had suffered much since their last meeting, seen whole worlds of their creations lost, and each paused upon seeing the other. Finally, Ys offered his hand, hoping to find room in reality for both philosophies, law and chaos. Full of sorrow, Asmodeus reached out with one hand to pull his brother close, while with the other he manifested a great spear and thrust it into his brother's body. Ys's death ends in an eruption that rocked all creation and shattered the world of their battle. Souls and lesser deities were washed away in the blast, and all creation knew instantly of Asmodeus' terrible act. Sarenrae discovered the wounded and brooding Asmodeus, and in that moment of fury, the goddess discovered something beyond order and chaos, her own sense of right and wrong. Sarenrae leveled her burning sword at the murderer, demanding he yield, and in response, Asmodeus quenched the goddess's blade and took her by the throat. Looking deep within her, he saw fear and insignificance, but he also saw the truth of the age. And as the goddess prepared to join her master, she was shocked to feel Asmodeus release and address her. To quote the Book of the Damned, "Your war is won, pale orphan. I leave all of this to you and your ilk, but you will see me again, for I alone remain to guard the old truths. And I will wait for the age when all you have wrought and all for which you have fought turns to sweep you away. Then all of you will see what I have lost and what I will make mine again." With this, Asmodeus departed along with the greatest of his champions to a harsh realm far from the seal and the young gods. Here 9 lost souls lingered and roamed. Collecting and holding them close, Asmodeus shaped his new realm unto a fearful pit, a cage with which to house and torment souls, both those presently there and those who would inevitably come to stand forever as a monument to the old ways of absolute order. And he called it Hell. And Asmodeus remains there to this day, the undisputed ruler of Hell, where he resides in its deepest circle, the volcanic desolation that is Nessus. The other 8 layers of Hell serve as a fortification for this great citadel he has built, while he patiently waits. After all, again, he was the one who is credited for the penning of the contract of creation. So basically, this guy has all the time in the world to where eventually he will gain the upper hand and Hell will return across the multiverse, his vision of absolute order at any cost. Generally speaking, Asmodeus is depicted in art as a large, flame-enshrouded man with red skin, cloven hooves, and horns, surrounded by a pale nimbus of flame. He is often shown wielding a contract or a flaming mace. Though many believe this is his one and true form, some speak of a more fiendish form with constantly bleeding wounds from his battle with Ys. Asmodeus is also capable of taking the shape of any creature, which is an ability he uses to gain advantage in negotiation through intimidation, comfort, or pity. The other gods find the Prince of Darkness the easiest of the evil deities to deal with, though they realize his aid is not to be sought or accepted lightly. For his part, Asmodeus regards the other faiths with mild amusement, seeing them as weak, temporary distractions to mortal worshippers. In turn, the other gods of Galerion might not agree with Asmodeus' philosophies, but they can't help but admit that at least he's super charismatic about the beliefs that even they still do not share with the Prince of Darkness. And it's not uncommon for the good deities to work with Asmodeus because, in fact, Asmodeus played a key role along with Sarenrae in the defeat and imprisonment of Rovagug. Rovagug was sealed away in the Pit of Gormuz, which sits in central Kazmaron, and the only key to that prison is kept by Asmodeus himself. Asmodeus has several titles: the Archfiend, Dark Prince, the First, God Fiend, Lord of Darkness, Master of Witches, Prince of Hell. We could be sitting here forever reading them. His alignment is lawful evil. His domains include evil, fire, law, magic, and trickery, with the subdomains of arcane, ash, deception, devil, divine, legislation, and smoke. His favorite weapon is the mace, and his symbol, the arch star, is a red pentagram. His sacred animal is the serpent, and his sacred colors are black and red. Of course, since Asmodeus is one of Pathfinder's core deities, he was among the first to receive a deific obedience. His boons leave a lot to be desired, so we're not going to sit here and talk about them, but we will, for the sake of flavor, discuss what one must do to show true and unwavering loyalty to the Prince of Darkness himself. Asmodeus' obedience requires us to use a ruby-bladed knife and inscribe symmetrical cuts into the flesh of another creature, preferably an unwilling sentient being you own or hold dominion over. The blade may be solid ruby or forged of metal and edged with serrated ruby fragments. Devout priests of Asmodeus, of course, take pride in crafting elaborate daggers made entirely of ruby. Drain the victim's blood into a bowl of bone made from the skull of a sentient humanoid. The amount of blood drained is up to you. You don't have to drain so much that you make the creature too weak or too useless to serve you, but you must use that bowl of blood to draw a large pentagram on the ground. Kneel within the pentagram and concentrate on the glory you will bring to the Prince of Darkness's name, and in return, we gain a +4 profane bonus on saving throws against fire effects. Asmodeus is probably the most evil of evil things floating around in the multiverse, and it only makes sense that our intrepid heroes and paladins and stuff would seek to defeat this guy. However, in Pathfinder, barring special GM stuff, deities of the caliber of Asmodeus are impossible to destroy by mortal means. Now, of course, this is not to say there's no way to defeat Asmodeus and he will win eventually, but all the level 20 paladins in the world storming hell, getting down to that 9th layer, would eventually just be wiped out by something with, in meta terms, no stat block. However, that does not mean one cannot resist the Prince of Darkness, and if one wanted to do so, there are 3 ways that I can think of to go about this. First and foremost, if you want to go toe-to-toe with the Prince of Darkness, you should head over to Absalom and take the Test of the Starstone. The Test of the Starstone is what is responsible for Norgaber, Caden Kalian, and Iomede's ascension to divinity, and if you want to be able to fight this guy, the first thing you should probably do is get on his level. However, that may not always be the path our adventurers can take, and honestly, there may be some player characters out there who may need to just throw off the shackles of a contract or just escape the law and order at any cost mentalities that would send our souls to hell upon death. Asmodeus is notorious for the contracts that he forces his followers to sign, and the Book of the Damned does have specific rules for how one throws off those contracts and escapes them, thus escaping eternal damnation in hell. We won't necessarily dive into those rules because I believe rules that alter the story are 100% at GM discretion, and if the GM can find a better way to engage his players than using these rules, then I'm all for it. We will say, however, that when an infernal contract is signed, 2 copies manifest, one for the mortal who signed it, and one for the devil. The mortal is free to do whatever he pleases with his copy, but devils tend to do 1 or 2 things with the copies they make. Some keep them close at hand, securing them in vaults or in care of the guardians of their choosing, but most of them send their contracts back to hell for safekeeping, typically to the fallen fastness in Dis. Dis, of course, being the 2nd layer of hell, the home of Dispater, and everyone's favorite risen angel, Regathiel. However, escaping a contract may not be enough to save your soul from eternal damnation. The third and final way that I will suggest we can defeat Asmodeus is to redeem ourselves, defeat our own inner devils, and rise above them so that when we die, our soul is not damned to hell, but instead is sent to a more peaceable afterlife. Champions of Purity has a section for atonement, and whether or not you want to go off that section or simply find someone to cast atonement on you is between you and your GM, but either way, direct sponsorship from a good deity and doing things such as showing mercy to your vanquished foes, ignoring or not responding to challenges, donating at least 50 gold to a good organization, or freeing oppressed, enslaved, or abused creatures can help us move our alignment from lawful evil, from hell, farther up towards the more good alignments, so when we do finally die, our souls are not damned forever to the fires of hell. I will, though, say, as an honorable mention, that in previous editions of Dungeons & Dragons, Asmodeus carried a powerful, unique artifact known as the Ruby Rod, and some sources do suggest that the Ruby Rod housed a part of Asmodeus' soul. Again, though, in Pathfinder, deities above Great Old Ones, Imperial Lords, Demon Lords, stuff like that, do not have stats and are thus considered to be unkillable, But of course, that's all arbitrary and entirely up to what your GM wants to do in whatever game you guys might be playing. If he wants to make them mortal and thus make them killable, that's all well and good. But as far as Pathfinder goes right now, these guys are untouchable. And that's what we have to say about the Prince of Darkness. Do you guys have anything to add? Have you ever played a Chellish wizard who is presently the only evil person in a party full of Serenites? Have you ever fought Asmodeus, and have you as a GM or in a party with a GM witnessed the fall of the Prince of Darkness to a mortal blade? If so, or if you know anything about the fall of core deities that I may not, please by all means throw it in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and as always, the next episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship drops next Wednesday.